The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview, putting the focus on all the Borders clubs, including the East League teams from the area. Joining me each week is Robin Purdie, and we have to start with a sensational weekend of rugby last Saturday with some amazing results which blew the whole league wide open, and in the Premiership in particular there was an amazing sequence, so bear with me because it's well worth mentioning, and as the old cliche goes, anyone can beat anyone on the day. So listen up, after just 2 rounds in the competition, this is what has happened. Watsonians were beaten by Kelso. Kelso were beaten by Musselburgh. Musselburgh were beaten by Glasgow Hawks. Glasgow Hawks were beaten by Selkirk. Selkirk were beaten by Mar. Mar were beaten by Hawick. Hawick were beaten by Edinburgh Accies. And Edinburgh Accies were beaten by Heriot. So every one of these games were home wins as well. So what about that for a sequence? That's never going to happen again, is it?
It just kind of maybe shows that it's maybe going to be a wee bit tighter, a lot of the games, than we thought. You know, Ayr have still won 2 games, one of which has been away from home to a fellow ex-Super Series team, and they've beaten the last year's club champions as well, so they're in a good place. But yeah, been some big results.
Let's have a look at those results then. Curry 27, Melrose 28. Let's start with that one because that was extraordinary.
Yeah, you'd have got long odds on a Melrose win there, Stuart, and that's no slur on Melrose, of course, but given their massive injury list and given Curry's standing, if you like, at the moment, current, as I say, club champions, and they've strengthened on the face of it well over the summer. I don't think many people, myself included, gave Melrose a prayer up there on Saturday, but yeah, there might not be a bigger shock than that this season, to be honest. It really is such was the magnitude of the win.
And yet, the next result, Hawick 51, Mar 13. We didn't see that coming either.
No, we didn't. Certainly seen a Hawick win at home coming. You'd fancy them against anybody. But yeah, the magnitude of the win took us aback a wee bit. And as I said in commentary last week, in any other weekend, that's the result of the weekend. But Melrose probably shared it.
And of course, at Hawick, one of the quickest hat-tricks we've ever seen, because I think he was on for about 20 minutes at the end of the match. Hector Patterson gets 3 tries.
Yeah, he's a good player, Hector Patterson, isn't he? He's got a big future ahead of him, and yeah, comes as no surprise. Player of that quality comes on when the game's starting to open up and some of the opposition are starting to tire, then yeah, he's going to have a field day.
Heriot's 34, Edinburgh Accies 26, the Edinburgh Derby. Heriot's unbeaten for 2 matches now.
Marching on, Heriot's, as many predicted they would, but you know, in the face of it, that doesn't look that bad a result for Accies, who weren't massive beneficiaries of the disbanding of Super Series. I thought more ex-Super Series players would gravitate to them, but it doesn't appear that they have. So yeah, that doesn't look like a catastrophe for the Accies there. They've got that one out the way.
Musselburgh beating Kelso 21-17. Kelso obviously very disappointed with that, having beaten Watsonians. Musselburgh a bounce back from the Glasgow Hawks match from the previous week. But Kelso get the 1 point bonus, and that was enough to actually put them up the table.
Kelso, I did fancy Kelso to win there, but by all accounts, according to the offside line anyway, a draft player for Musselburgh has had the game of his life, but Musselburgh's a tough place to go as well. I think, Musselburgh took a heavy reversal at Glasgow Hawks the week before, and that surprises me because I've seen Glasgow Hawks on Saturday against Selkirk and they didn't have their best game, to be honest. So, but yeah, just as you said at the top of the show there, it's just people beating people at the moment.
Selkirk, you mentioned 41 points to 10 against Glasgow Hawks, reversing 40 points to 10 the previous week when they lost at Fullerton Park against Mar.
Yeah, and again, Selkirk, another team that have got one of the tougher assignments out of the way. You know, they've been to Fullerton now. They were very impressive on Saturday there. Really good team performance. I asked Sesh pre-game it looked to me that this is the strongest starting squad, or 22 or whatever it was on paper, that I've seen for quite a while. They've recruited well, Selkirk as well, and yeah, if they can keep chalking up home wins against teams that you'd class as being of the same standard, we're talking about 3 down this season, then if they can keep running up scores like that against the Glasgow Hawks, against the Musselburghs, etc, then they might do a bit better than a lot of people predicted.
And it certainly changes the dynamic for the game that we'll be talking about later against Kelso tomorrow.
Oh, massively. If we were sat after week 1 and we were saying Selkirk go to Kelso this week, you'd be saying, well, that's an absolute home banker, to be honest. But that's a tough one to call now, because Selkirk will go down there absolutely cock a hoop, and that's what a big win does for you.
Certainly does. And the other result, of course, was Watsonians 22, Ayr 26. Jason Baggett, 5 penalties for him, and Watsonians in the lead into the second half. But ultimately, 4 tries to 1 against them, 5 points in the bag for Ayr.
Yeah, it looked like they, as the scores were coming in and Watsonians were still in front as the match wore on, it looks like maybe Ayr have dug themselves out of a wee bit of a hole there. But if digging yourself out of a hole is a bonus point win against an ex-Super Series team, then it's potentially been a pretty shallow hole. But yeah, Ayr are going to chalk up some amount of victories this season. But you mentioned Baggett there. Baggett, really good player, will be a really good player at this level. I wouldn't be surprised if he finishes the season as the top scorer in the league.
We'll be talking more about him, of course, as we preview Melrose against Watsonians a little bit later on. But the National 1 results from last weekend: Dundee 32, Biggar 44. Dundee scoring some points there. Biggar, though, 2 wins.
Yeah, 2 wins and a couple of bonus points as well, I think. So Big Borth's got them going well, obviously, and another team that have recruited well this summer. GHA 52, Gala 3, another one hard to explain. Yeah, although GHA are very good at Braidholm. Oh yeah, definitely. And GHA will be there or thereabouts towards the upper echelons. They might not pip Stirling to it, but they'll be there or thereabouts come the end of the season towards the top of the table. And it's always going to be a tough shift that for Gala up there. I maybe didn't see the margin of victory quite coming, but yeah, Gala possibly one of those teams that will pick up more wins at home this season than they will on the road.
Highland 31, Stirling County 62. Now, I can't remember the last time Highland conceded that amount of points. In fact, to be honest, much over 30 points, I think, at Canal Park. That is a bit of a drubbing. They doubled Highland's score at Canal Park, and Stirling County certainly looking good for a National 1 title.
Definitely, you took the words right out of my mouth there. I mean, how often will Highland have had 60 points on them at home in recent times? Not many. I wouldn't have thought. And yeah, tough place to go up there, and yeah, statement win that for Stirling.
Jed Forest 41, Boroughmuir 33. Interesting, because obviously when Jed Forest lost against Biggar, they were well in command and lost it right at the end. It was the other way round with this. Boroughmuir had a handsome lead, about 26 points to 10. Then Jed Forest managed to claw their way back into the match and get a 5-pointer.
Great character, by the sounds of things, shown by Jed. If they had that kind of deficit last season, then the opposition probably kick on and get 50 or 60 points. So yeah, Jed did definitely look to be in a better place. And I think 2 points, as I've said before, I think 2 points away at Hartree Mill against Biggar at the start of the season, then a bonus point win against one of the ex-Super Series teams in the second weekend. What does that give them? 7 points. That represents a really good start to the season.
And 2 points more than they got in the whole of the season last year in the Premiership, of course.
I think Jed fans can look forward to a decent campaign this season, hopefully, after what they went through last season.
The other game was Peebles 29, Glasgow Accies 35. A late penalty got Peebles into double bonus point territory. They got the 4 tries and also managed to close the gap to within 7. So it was a home loss, but it was Glasgow Accies.
Yeah, I don't think that's for a team that were promoted. Let's not forget last season Peebles. I don't think that's a disastrous result at all. In fact, I think that's a pretty good result. Glasgow Accies, let's not forget, run up 60 odd points at the Greenyards last season. So they another team like GHA, Stirling, Biggar will be there or thereabouts towards the top, I reckon. And yeah, Peebles have chalked off Stirling away, and Glasgow Accies at home. They've got games to look forward to now with 2 of the tougher assignments out the way. The
only Borders team in National 2 this season, because of Peebles' promotion, is Berwick. They went to Falkirk, and traditionally this fixture is a 60-70 pointer, and it didn't disappoint at Sunnyside either. Falkirk 40, Berwick 21. It was 14 all during the first half in that one. We'll hear more from Paul Pringle, his assessment of that one. So a difficult trip for them, but they're back at home this week, and again it gets their season off and running, and unfortunately they lost Euan Thompson, which is a big blow for them for the next few weeks.
Oh yeah, that is a really big blow. He didn't look out of place in the Premiership last season for Kelso. Yeah, I consider Falkirk to be favourites for that division this season, given some of the personnel that they have. So again, Berwick have got what looks to me to be the hardest game of the season. Falkirk away, they've got that out the way now, and they can concentrate on this weekend.
Okay, let's have a look at the fixtures in the Premiership tomorrow. We start with Hawick against Heriots, one of the great fixtures on the calendar. Let's hear from Green's head coach, and that's Graham Hogg.
As a group of players and coaches, we were delighted with how we played last weekend with our first home game against Mar. We put a plan in place. during pre-season. That obviously didn't come to fruition in the first game against Accies, but I thought we were excellent. Both sides of the ball last Saturday against Mar. Our attack was really clinical, and that's something that we have worked on a lot in pre-season, but the reason we were able to do that was our defensive efforts. I thought defensively, to a man, that everyone stood out and worked really hard for each other, which is exactly what we've asked for. We're going to need that and more this week when we get our first opportunity to play one of the returning Super 6 squads in Heriots. Fortunate enough, we've got our second home game on the bounce, so we're really looking to capitalise on that. But we know it's going to be a difficult task. Heriots have been impressive the first 2 games, really pragmatic in how they play, very strong set piece with a good kicking game. So yeah, we're looking forward to welcoming them. It'll be good to catch up with Bob McKillop, someone who I've worked with previously in the age grade squads. So yeah, looking forward to catching up with him again, and hopefully it'll be a good encounter down at Mansfield Park.
Well, certainly got everything right at Mansfield Park last weekend, bouncing back from a defeat to Edinburgh Accies. Can they stop Heriots from getting 3 wins in a row?
Yes, is the answer to that, because it's Huyken, they're at home and they've got the proud record at Mansfield, and they racked up 50 points against Mar last week. So yeah, like Selkirk, they will be absolutely cock-a-hoop. That was a wonderful result. Mar really seemed to struggle at Mansfield for some reason. They certainly don't score many tries there, that's for sure. But yeah, Heriots will be coming down to Hawick on Saturday knowing that this is a tougher game than what they will have played so far this season, and it's a really tough one to call, Stuart. For me, it's probably game of the day.
I would agree with that, and of course you saw Heriots at the Green Yards, didn't you, against Melrose?
Yeah, and they were impressive. I always thought they had another couple of gears in them. They lost Jason Hill in pretty much the first minute, which didn't help their cause that day. So yeah, they are one of the favourites overall this season, them and Ayr for me, but yeah, this will be a very, very tricky game for them on Saturday, and if they can come away with 4 points, then it will be hard earned.
Alan Lorimer will be covering that one for us tomorrow. A big crowd expected, as you would imagine. Melrose are at home to Watsonians, hoping to do to the Mireside men what Kelso did 2 weeks ago, but after running Ayr close last Saturday, this one looks difficult to predict, although we'll have a good try after we hear from co-coach at Melrose, Scott White.
Boys were fantastic last Saturday up at Millennium Park. A huge amount of fight, desire, willingness to work really hard for each other, and that's something that is key in playing in these big games that just keep coming every week. So look, we were unlucky in terms of probably not to pick up 2 points the first week against Heriots, which probably would have been a fair result, and there's probably a wee bit of frustration in that performance week 2 in terms of not getting over, I dare say, that 4 tries in the kind of first week. So look, we worked on a couple of things last week, and boys were working really hard, and it's great to see. They deserve a result like that, but look, it doesn't get much easier this week again. We're at Watsonians at home. They've got better since week 1 as well, and I dare say they've still got key players to come back into that, like say your Lewis Berg and stuff in the centre. So I'm sure these guys will be getting closer to being fit as well. So they come with a different challenge, I dare say, to Curry in terms of, up front and stuff. They've got your boys like Louis Ball, Neil Irvin Hess, Quagga Van Nierek. All these guys are playing Super 6. It's not going to be easy, put it that way. But, we've worked hard again, and, their boys are pulling through it. So, the pack will have one change in it this week. So Jerry Blythe-Lafferty got released last week from Edinburgh, who was huge in terms of performance. And he's going to play in the under-23s game. So we're actually got Harry Morris released this week from Edinburgh. So that'll be the one change in the pack this week in terms of Harry Morris will go in at 2. Props will be the same, middle row, back row, exactly the same as last Saturday. And then the back line's just not as straightforward this week. Dougie Crawford's unavailable, so it was a great time in return for Bruce Colvin. So Bruce actually played in the second, sat on the bench last week for the 2s, played 20 minutes off the bench, and we've got young Katami Robertson who started for the 2s. So both of them are available, so it'll be a tight selection in terms of who starts at 9. And then we're also waiting on a late fitness test with Luke Townsend. So Luke went off injured last week, which resulted in Rollie Brett going to 10, Matty Klein going to 12, and Declan staying at 13. So that will be the starting team if Luke, I dare say, doesn't manage to pull through fitness test. Competition for places, we're getting people back, and the most pleasing thing was getting 5 points last week, which obviously boys can take a lot of pat on the back for, but they're well aware aware that their feet are very still much grounded, that it's going to take another huge performance this week to get anything off of what's on ends.
So a little bit of shuffling in the backs. Good to see Bruce Colvin back though.
Yeah, definitely. Experienced campaigner to come in for sure, that with Doug Crawford being unavailable. Harry Morris as well, good replacement for Jerry Blythe-Lafferty, who was absolutely immense last Saturday. But yeah, it's going to be another tough one, albeit Melrose at home. Is there an element now that Melrose's cover is blown? Many thought that they might not pick up too many points in the first 3 games, given who they were playing. Remarkable win last week. So Watsonians now will be looking at this fixture and going, oh, hang on a second, any team that can get a bonus point win at Millennium, we are going to have to take them serious, and Melrose are going to need the same level of intensity again this weekend. But based on what they've done so far this season, and against Heriots as well, by the way, there's no reason they can't win this game.
I was looking forward to Luke Townsend against Jason Baggett at number 10. Looks like Luke might not get through the fitness test. Hopefully he will. But Jason Baggett returning to the Green Yards, a place he knows very well.
Oh, definitely a great player for both the club team and the Southern Knights. Of course, and as I mentioned before, it would not surprise me if he finishes the season as the top scorer in the league. Yeah, very good player. He was on the Edinburgh's books as well, and my Melrose will need to keep a close eye on him, and I would imagine the firm synthetic surface will suit his all-round game perfectly.
Well, our commentary game, which you and David Ferguson will be covering for us, Poynda Park is the venue. First derby of the season in the Premiership as well, Kelso versus Selkirk, and we're going to hear from the head coach of Selkirk, Sesh Henderson, but first Director of Rugby at Kelso, and that is Neil Hinnigan.
Back at home this week, we welcome Selkirk, our border rivals, to Poynda Park for a big border derby. Last week at Musselburgh obviously didn't go to plan. Musselburgh were very, very good on the day. They were up for it, probably won the physical battle and, you know, the mental edge in us, and fair play to them. They were good, very clinical, and took their chance well. We really didn't have our best day at the office, but, you know, that's sport, that's rugby, and this week we get a chance to put it right back on home turf. So another tough game given how well Selkirk played last week against Hawks. Very impressive. Ran in some good tries, and you know, they look very, very established outfit this year, so it's going to be a hard match, but one that we can look to get things right and get the season back on track. We unfortunately have a few injuries mounting up now, which is obviously the thing you probably most want to avoid, but it'll happen to most teams over the season, and we're without Grant Shields and Terry Logan, along with Harry Borthwick, who might be out long term. Andy Tate's still out. Adam Hall misses this game. Liam Herdman also away on holiday this week. There's quite a few guys not available. We do have Isaac Coates available this week again from the academy, and we have Patrick Harrison as well from Edinburgh Rugby. So that bolsters us a little bit in a timely fashion. And Oscar Davey comes back onto the bench after recovering from his illness. So apart from that, there's no really any other changes. A little bit of shuffle around again to make things work. Alex Hall comes back at the starting lineup. He was on the bench last week, and also Dan Gamble returns at tight head. A few ins and outs, but overall we're looking to get that settled performance and a good performance, and we just need more points.
After last week's game, obviously we were happy with the majority of that performance to get over the line. The Hawks, you know, we expected a harder game and what we got, but the way we played some really good attacking rugby and end up, you know, scoring some good scores. But as always, you know, the whole squad, the whole coaching team are looking for improvements, and we'll need to improve probably in all areas against Kelso. You know, going to Poynda Park, it's going to be tough. It's a border battle. At the same time, we're looking to go there with an improved performance over the 80 minutes and making sure we come away with points. It's crucial that we now keep that momentum going from last week and don't let it drop, and go to Poynda Park with confidence, with belief. And if we put in a shift for over 80 minutes, then I'm sure we'll get something out of the game, and we're looking forward to that.
So Kelso back to Poynda Park, but as Sesh mentioned there, a big boost of confidence for Selkirk after last last weekend's result. And of course they came back to win there last season with that late Callum Anderson try, which really surprised a lot of people. That will be in the back of both teams' minds, won't it?
Selkirk know that they can go to Poynter and win, as they've done in the recent past. And like I say, they bounced down the road there on Saturday on the back of that brilliant win against Glasgow Hawks, whereas Kelso had a reversal, albeit away from home. That's a blow. Borthwick being out, that looked a very, very good acquisition for Kelso, and I believe he was very impressive in the first game of the season against Watsonians. So if Neil says there he's long term, then that's a real blow, and Shields and Logan are out as well, but they've got strength and depth at prop Adam Hall as well. So yeah, Kelso not quite at full strength, and as I mentioned earlier, Selkirk look to me stronger than they've looked for a while. Corey Tate and Ben Fisher, Taylor Wilson, the new lad Brunland, there's 4 every week starters, if you like, in the pack. That's completely changed the look of Selkirk's 8. The bench did really well when they came on last week. Bruce Riddle looks in good nick. He performed really well off the bench, and even in the back line, Grant Sutty's back, Ben Pickles is back. Those are like 2 new signings essentially. So yeah, Selkirk looking stronger than I've seen them for a while, and this game might have been at one point seen as a foregone conclusion, but I don't see it like that now.
Well, particularly after them losing 40 points to 10 on the first day of the season at Fulton Park against Mar. What would you think happened there? Because it was pretty much the same team, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd heard people say that it wasn't a 40 points to 10 game, if that makes sense, and I'm almost surprised a wee bit that, having seen Selkirk on the second weekend at close quarters, I'm a wee bit surprised that they did get turned over to that level. But it's maybe just the way the league's going to work this season. A lot of home wins, maybe less away wins. But yeah, this one again, another game that's got a great look about it this week. Poynter, great place to go any time of the year to watch rugby. There'll be a big crowd there. That stand will be full. It'll be quite vocal. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Neil Hinnigan, a little throwaway line there that, and by the way, Paddy Harrison is in the team. Scottish international, playing hooker now, released to play for Kelso. Great for Kelso, and good that Patrick is playing some rugby rather than sitting on the bench, which he did most of last season for Edinburgh. But what do we look into that in terms of Paddy's international career?
Oh, I think, he's a young player that's making his way, and he got capped on a summer tour whereby the intention was to cap a lot of players of, at his stage of career, to see what they're like in that environment, how they can step up, etc. But, is it the end of his international career because he's now back playing club rugby? Absolutely not, because below the pro game now, this is kind of it until they announce whatever else they're going to announce. So, as you correctly say, Stuart, far better that he's playing a bit of rugby than sitting on the bench somewhere.
Well, Ayr take on Musselburgh at Millbrae. If that was a round 1 fixture, we would probably have been talking about a cricket score. But with Ayr struggling to put Watsonians away, Musselburgh beating Kelso as well, who of course beat Watsonians, are we looking at this one with a different set of glasses?
We're certainly looking at an Ayr win. And again, that's no disrespect at all to Musselburgh. I'd say that about any team visiting.
It's the Millbrae effect.
It's the Millbrae. It's the Ayr effect. It's what they've maintained from Super Rugby. They, to me, are the benchmark on and off the field as far as club rugby is concerned in Scotland, and they have been for a while now. And club that finished mid-table in the Prem last season is going to play a Super Series team. They've still got that much personnel from that level of rugby. So yeah, you're not going to get any sort of price on Ayr, that's for sure.
Inbrackies against Curry, a derby in the capital, and Curry facing 3 straight defeats. We never thought we would ever say that.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, they've recruited well. Aki's not brought in as many as I thought they might, but Aki's having a pretty good start to the season for me. They've the Heriots game's out the way, and they're a really good, that's an even better win now against Hawick on the opening day, given what Hawick have done in the meantime. So yeah, Aki, I believe the weather's to be good on Saturday. Suits Aki's style of rugby. I get another game with a really good look about it, but I do see Curry shading it with Aki's to get at least a point, if not 2.
The other match, of course, is Mar against Glasgow Hawks.
I seen Glasgow Hawks, of course, last weekend. They had a tough day, the Hawks. They looked like they'd prepped really well. They had a good warm up. They were down nice and early, and yeah, I think I would fancy Mar for that one on Saturday, just given what's happened so far in the season. But already this season, stranger things have happened. So I see Mar winning it, but again, Glasgow Hawks could pick up a point or 2.
And of course the fact that Mar and Glasgow Hawks were below par, both of them, in their away matches. Mar of course can go back home to Fullerton Park, a place they know and love very well. Glasgow Hawks on the road again, second week running.
Yeah, and Hawks are another team that do better at home as well, and yeah, it's the Fullerton Park comfort blanket almost for Mar. So yeah, with those factors in mind, I do see it being a Mar victory through there.
Well, Rugby Radio is on at 2:30 as usual tomorrow, but no sooner have we extended the show to end at 5:30, we now increase it again, but it's for one day at least, because due to our exclusive live radio coverage of the Scotland Women's International against Fiji at the Hive in Edinburgh, which kicks off at 4:45 tomorrow. We'll be there straight after the end of the Kelso-Selkirk game, so expect our coverage to end tomorrow at about 6:45 after we've spoken to at least one of the Scotland team. The big three are back for Scotland as far as borders connections are concerned. Lana Skeldon, Lisa Thompson and Chloe Rollie, who Hugh Brown spoke to last week, and this is what she had to say.
I think we needed to just focus on breaking Wales down. The first half maybe wasn't how we wanted it to be, but second half we came out and we knew that if we played our game plan and worked really hard and tired them out, that we would get some tries, and that's exactly what happened.
It was. What changed then between the first half and the second half? Because obviously we're 2 points down at the interval.
I think just the ability to spot what opportunities were there. I think in the first half we kind of rushed it a bit. We didn't have patience, and I think in the second half we realised what was on. The space was a bit more wide, but we needed to earn the right to go there. So we had to hit up a couple of times and then go wide and catch them on the heels, really. 2
fantastic tries for you, an absolutely brilliant solo effort as well, right under the post.
Yeah, I think I'm really happy that I managed to get that try. It's not all about me. The team made that happen, but I think as an individual, I'm proud of coming back from ankle surgery in summer and showing what I can do and showing that I'm pretty much back in full fitness.
It's your biggest win over Wales for many, many years, actually.
Yeah, I know. This is just testament to how well we trained this summer. Our pre-season has been going really well, and we're really aiming to push at a level. With WXV2 coming up in a couple of weeks, and then next year's the World Cup. So I think we have just focused on really what we can do and how we can improve as a squad, and we showed that tonight on the pitch.
And let's talk about Fiji next Saturday. You've never played them before?
No, never played Fiji. I think it's going to be a really exciting match. I've played them before at Sevens, and they're a very unstructured team, which it can be a bit difficult when we're a bit more on the structured side. I think it's going to be very difficult, very fast, very offload skills. I think we're going to have to be very focused on how we want to play as a squad in both attack and defence. And I'm excited to play though. Hopefully, depending on selection, and see how the squad gets on against a less structured team.
I tell you, you'll have a 16th man because the crowd will really cheer you on.
Yeah, no, I think the crowd are going to be amazing next week. They were really loud this week, and it always pushes us to be the best that we can be. And every time something happens in a game and you hear them shouting on you, it's really, really a boost in it. Like you say, it's like a 16th man. It pushes you forward and makes you want to do really well for them and show them what we can do.
But you'll be excited about playing Fiji because they're such a strong side, big side. I mean, a bit different from Wales, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to test us with our physicality. Wales are big. They're very physical, but I think with Fiji they're going to just tuck the ball, they're going to want to go, they're going to run at us. They're going to look to maybe suck us in defence, and then skills on the outside, and it'll be really offloady. They'll bring all the skills, and I think it's a good test for us, especially with coming up to WXV. We've got Australia there. They're a bigger team again, and I think it'll set us up nicely for that tournament.
Well, assuming all 3 girls from the Borders make it through the warm-up, that will mean a total of 199 caps between them, which is pretty phenomenal. Great for the area.
Oh, definitely is great for the area. Great players, great servants, great representatives of women's rugby in general. I would say very modest by Chloe there in her comments as well. If selected, surely one of the first names on the team sheet. She's done magnificently well in her career. All credit to her. She honed her craft at Riverside.
Well, no girl from the named 23 play their rugby in Scotland. How much of a concern is that for growing the women's game in Scotland?
I think there's a couple of ways you can look at this, Stuart. That to me suggests that the pathway is working, in that if the Bristols and the Loughboroughs and whoever else down south,
Gloucester, Hartbury,
the big names, if you like, if they're coming up here, scouting up here, the players in our club system, then the better players in the club system go down there, and it opens up spaces at Watsonians and Heriots and Hillhead for other players coming through. And it maybe lessens the product in terms of, you know, the games on a Sunday afternoon up here in the club league, but it certainly opens up a pathway that it gives more players an opportunity to play if 15, 22, however many are playing at a higher level. And I think for Scotland to be competitive, you know, they have to be playing at that level down there.
And of course there's similar things happening in the men's game with Argentina, Italy to a certain extent, Japan certainly.
Oh, for sure. And it was, you know, it's been spoken about often enough that when the Kelly Browns and the John Barclays left Glasgow, for example, and they go and play Saracens and wherever, and when Jim Hamilton was up here and he left again, then it frees up a space for somebody to play at Edinburgh and Glasgow. You know, we're not awash with professional teams, and we need as many, for the sake of the national team, we need as many players playing high level rugby as possible. And you know, and if more of them go to play for bigger clubs down south, then it frees up a space for people to play here. And then if they are the real deal, they move on, and it frees up another space.
Full coverage of Scotland's women versus Fiji women tomorrow on our afternoon show. Stuart McFarlane and Hugh Brown will be with me in Edinburgh for that game. But back to Scottish club rugby matters, and in National 1, a derby at Netherdale between Gala and Jed Forest. Let's hear first from Gala head coach Euan Robbie, who starts by dealing with their big loss last weekend at Braidholme against GHA, and then we shall have a chat with Stuart Johnson.
Disappointing result up at GHA at the weekend. You just struggled to get a foothold in the game against what has to be said is a very capable GHA team, and I think they'll be quite high up the leagues this year. Looking at ourselves, just too many inaccuracies and intensity around about the game. Being away from home, you need to raise that a bit more, and for us it's how we start to get that the same intensity we get in Netherdale. We've got to take that away from home with us. Good thing about it is we've got a short turnaround for this week's game against Jed. That's going to be a challenge in itself, and the fact that you always know Jed's going to bring some intensity, physicality and knowledge to how they're playing. Really looking forward to get back to it. We've had an honest week at training, a lot of analysis, some real hard graft. Get the guys back up and buzzing for the game against Jed at Netherdale on Saturday. Team news for this week is that Michael Angus is going to start at tight head with Kyle Scott moving to the bench. We welcome back Tim McCavanagh and Robbie Irvin at the back row, letting Ben Gill go back to his normal position of winger. Richie Mitchell and Keith Young will be on the bench for the backs. We're expecting a typical border derby, and we're expecting an honest reaction from our players, hard work, determination, get that pride and passion back, and we'll certainly be up for this game on Saturday against Jed.
We're looking forward to going down to Netherdale on Saturday for a Borders derby. We're expecting a tough game, especially after Gala getting beat by 50 points at the weekend, which was a surprise result. But they'll come back fighting after that. We know that, and border derbies are always tough. But look, we're on a high after beating a really strong Burramere side at the weekend, especially coming down from 26-10 behind with 30 minutes to go. We've showed great resilience and character to come back and get a bonus point win. So boys are on a high. We should have a reasonably settled squad again going into this weekend. So as I say, looking forward to the game and what will be a tough border derby. But if we play like we've shown we can for periods, as I said at Biggar, it was a 40-minute performance in the first half against Burramere. It was a better performance overall, but we're still we need to try and put that together for 60, 70, 80 minutes. And I think if we do that on Saturday, we could come away with a win, and we'll just take it from there.
Return to Netherdale for Stuart Johnson, former head coach of Gala, so a nice little bit of side interest there.
Oh yeah, a wee bit of a subplot, and let's not forget Hurdy as well, yes. Standing on the touchline in another team's colours will be quite interesting. It'll be interesting to see what kind of good-natured reception Ian gets. I'm sure it'll be water of a duck's back, and he'll give as good as he gets. But it's another great game this weekend. It's a weekend of tasty-looking fixtures, and This is a tough one to call. Let's not read too much into Gala's defeat and the manner of the defeat, or the scoreline anyway, last weekend, because I think Gala at home will be a different proposition. Irvin and McCavanagh coming back into the forwards, that really helps. And fair play to Ben Gill, by the way. Ben Gill playing wing forward up there last weekend. He'll move back into the backs now. So yeah, fair play to him for stepping up in the hour of need. But Jed as I said before, really strong start to the season. Good numbers at training, by all accounts. A lot more strength and depth, it would seem, and tough one to call this.
Because a lot of people were, Jed fans in particular, were very concerned, weren't they, that are they going to do an Aberdeen or a Hillhead Jordan Hill and go in free fall, skip a couple of divisions, and then all of a sudden they're down in like the third tier, and that clearly hasn't happened.
It can be done. Stumel, Boroughmuir, some of the traditional big names in Scottish club rugby have gone down. Gala have been down there in the not too distant past. So yeah, it can be done, and it sort of had that. It did have that look about it last season. You're thinking if Jed go down, you can't see them bouncing back up straight away. But no, all credit to them. They very much appear to have turned the corner, and the new regime that's come in the door in the summer. The Jonos, the Hurdies, and Mike Dalgetty around the place as well. Those always looked like good appointments. They looked like the appointments that Jed needed, and they've got. And yeah, they appear to have turned the corner.
The first league derby between those two for a long time. First league derby in National 1 also for Biggar against Peebles, which is their derby, of course. Peebles have played 2, lost 2, but they've got 2 bonus points. Biggar came from behind to beat Jed and overcame Dundee on the road. So this, again, looks like being a bit of a tight affair.
Oh yeah, and another brilliant game. We mentioned it last week. Peebles will have one eye on, or Peebles fans and Biggar fans alike, when the old cliche, when the fixtures come out, what games do you look for? I'm sure this was the first one that they looked for. That'll be a great occasion up there at Hartree Mill. There'll be a big crowd. Peebles will take decent numbers, I would imagine, as well. And yeah, that's going to be a tasty one.
OK, let's hear what Graham Patterson has to say, head coach of Peebles.
Yeah, so last Saturday against Glasgow Accies, a very disappointing result at home. First home game and a loss. The first half performance was poor from us. They capitalised on a couple of interception opportunities, one in the first half and one in the second half. But really, it was the backline, their backline, which was a pretty slick and pretty handy and pacey, unit that we failed to really deal with. Now, part of that was just one-on-one stuff. Part of that was unit defence, where we just bit in a wee bit. We were a bit naive in terms of how we defended them, despite us looking and seeing how they played in the previous game and identifying this. We just didn't pick up on that early enough in the first half, and we found ourselves 21-0 down pretty rapidly. So it was poor kind of decision making, really, which led to poor execution in terms of how we defended and gave them easy opportunities in the end, it looked like. However, they did take them very well. Second half was different. We really gave ourselves a shake at half time and got ourselves back into that game. We got a foothold through set piece, was very good throughout the game, but particularly towards in that second half, we started to exert a bit of pressure. Felt we didn't really get the kind of rewards in terms of maybe decisions around about the scrum particularly. However, it was still giving us a very good attacking platform. We started to attack a wee bit in the back line by being a bit more direct, and we got ourselves to within a score. We took a 3-pointer just to kind of get within 7 points and 6 points down with a few minutes to go, and they were clinging on. And I think if a few more minutes, having spoken to their coaches after the game, they felt they were just wanting that game to end as quickly as possible, and they knew that we were coming hard for them. So it's disappointing to obviously to lose that, but we'll take the positives from it. The way that we played in the second half, the way that our set piece operated, and the way we were able to turn things around, mentally and physically, was good to see that. And it just came down to us focusing on taking opportunities. So we really need to focus on that every single game. We're going to have fewer opportunities, and we really need to be in a position to take all of those when we possibly can. So now it's about looking forward, and we look forward to a really big game, obviously, for ourselves and Biggar as well, up at Hartree Mill, and playing our local rivals. It'll be a huge occasion, as it always is. And these types of games always teetering on the boiling point, and then go from there, and who knows what happens. But I think what we're trying to do is create opportunities through positive play, getting our kicking strategy right, and looking to really exert some pressure in terms of making them work really, really hard for territory and possession, the two losses that we've had in the first opening games, I mean, obviously the Stirling game is always going to be a hard one, and so is Glasgow Accies, to be fair, as well. They're going to be one of the top sides in the league as well. We still feel as though there's no need to chuck the baby out with the bathwater. We're trusting our squad. We want to establish ourselves in this league, so we've kind of given a vote of confidence to the 15 guys that started last week and said go out and try and give ourselves a real platform in this game. We have guys that will put their hand up as well, and that's why we've freshened up a wee bit in terms of the bench as well. So William Napier's available to us from his Navy duties, so he comes on as one of our front row replacements, and he'll offer a real physical edge to the game when he comes on. Pleasing to see Jack Harrison, the club captain, back from his injury that he picked up in pre-season training, and he's on the bench and will enter the fray, which is key for us in having quality players on the bench. I would suspect that the game will be pretty tight, so those impacts from the bench are going to be key in terms of who actually turns out to be the winner of the game, and I'm hoping and believe as well that our 20 guys will be the ones that will come out on top.
Always a great insight from Graham Patterson, the head coach of Peebles. Now, Boroughmuir versus Dundee, Highland against GHA also on tomorrow in National 1. But tonight, Stirling County at home to Glasgow Accies under the Bridge Hall lights. And something's going to give here because they're both unbeaten. But surely Stirling County will have that edge, stamp the authority with the home advantage.
I would have thought so, Stuart, but it's got another game that's got the makings of being a great fixture. Glasgow Accies mentioned before, they look like they've got a good thing going on through there. Like Ryan Grant and the coaching staff, etc. I think Ryan Wilson was in and around the place as well for a while. So yeah, they look to have good numbers. Club heading in very much in the right direction. They'll probably, I would imagine, meet their match tonight, but everybody's going to meet their match at Bridge Hall this season, I would have thought. But yeah, sure to be a good game, and yeah, just see Stirling sharing.
Well, International 2, and after losing in another high-scoring match last weekend at Sunnyside against Falkirk, Berwick have their first home match of the season. They'll be welcoming Stumel, who won last week against GHK. Berwick head coach Paul Pringle.
So last Saturday we travelled up to Falkirk for our first fixture of the National League 2 campaign. We knew this would be a tricky tie against a very strong team who just narrowly missed out on promotion last year, and it certainly lived up to that. We started off pretty shaky. We conceded a try fairly early on, but then for me we grew into the game. We got it back to 14-all. Certainly felt like we were in the ascendancy, and then a loose pass as we were attacking the try line. They ran 60-70 metres and scored under the sticks. Seemed to just knock the stuffing out of us a little, and then that was swiftly followed by an injury to Euan Thompson. Euan sprained his MCL, so he's going to be out for a few weeks, and yeah, that was a real body blow. Euan's a big part of how we want to play rugby, big ball carrier and a big voice for us. He'll definitely be missed over the coming weeks, but we're glad it's not anything more serious. After that, just critical errors at critical points in the match. You know, it's a bit of a lesson to the guys. If we really want to compete and be where we're aiming to be, we need to, certainly cut down or limit those critical errors. To give 3-4 tries away, against teams of that calibre, you're not going to come out on the right end of the result. But moving forward this Saturday, we've worked on in training, a lot of the stuff that we took from the video footage, and we feel like we're in a good place for welcoming Stumel down to Scremerston. In terms of team selection, we are fortunate to have Nathan Melrose return at hooker. Jack Webster will come back into 10, and we've got Stu Farnaby coming back onto the bench. So there's some really experienced guys there. Ryan will move back to 8 and Ali up into the second row. And we also have on the bench, we have Jack Williamson. Jack joined us from Gala in the summer and really looks, he looks quite sharp. I know he's been out of rugby for a little bit, but he's done pre-season. He's played a few of the warm-up games. So we're excited to have him involved, and he'll certainly get some minutes this weekend. The other changes, Ben Simmons will slot back to 15, and that's no reflection on the way Ben's played at 10. We've seen already he's a very intelligent rugby player, and we just feel at 15 he'll have that opportunity to put us in the right areas of the park. And Jordan Jackson moves out onto the wing just to give him a little bit more space and a bit of opportunity. Jordan scored a really good finisher's try last week, running in from about 40 metres out, beating a few players. So It'd be good to see what you can do there. So yeah, all in all, we're quite happy with the way the squad looks this week, and we really want to just rebuild that reputation of Scremerston being a tough place to come and get any sort of result. But we certainly know it will be a tough fixture, but one we're looking forward to.
Home advantage at Scremerston, hard place to go to get a result. Stu Mel couldn't do it last year. In fact, I think they started the campaign with a draw, wasn't it? 22-all last season.
I think they did, yeah.
They'll be confident.
Oh, definitely. They're at home, and yeah, they'll be looking to make it a fortress right enough. And yeah, I fancy Berwick to pick up the first win of the league campaign this season. Spoke about it before. They've chalked off for what is to me the toughest game, and that's Falkirk away. Euan Thompson being out for a few weeks, you can't not say that's a blow. And of course Alex Orr is at Kelso now as well, out the second row stock. So, but yeah, I think Berwick will still have enough on Saturday to see off Schumacher.
That's a 9-team league, of course, and you're probably looking at Falkirk. You mentioned Lass Wade certainly can't rule them out this season, and I think if Berwick get a couple of good results going, they could be in the mix certainly at the end. And of course, let's not rule out Kirkcaldy, who haven't played yet. They were sitting out last weekend because it's a 9-team league. They're going to show their hand this weekend.
Yeah, Kirkcaldy, be interesting to see how they go, and that's who Falkirk head to actually. Newton Stewart in this division as well.
Not doing so well.
Yeah, well, they lost their first game. They have a bye this weekend, but they've still, when saying that, he's dual registered now with Mar. They still have the likes of Mark McCormick, the back rower, the flanker, who was absolutely outstanding for Glasgow against the South at Poinder in the spring of the year. So yeah, they were thereabouts last season as well. So a tough division actually when you start to look at the teams individually. Tough division this season.
Well, it certainly started. I mean, we've only been going 2 weeks. We're already looking at some fantastic stories in all the leagues across the Premiership and the National Leagues as well. And it's going to be very, very exciting. And of course, down in the East League as well, a century for one of our teams. Euan Welsh casting his eye on things this week.
The East League Roundup with Euan Welsh.
Hello, we're back again and straight into the second round of East League fixtures and the 6 teams who represent the borders across the 3 divisions. Starting in East League 1, and last weekend the men from the Muckletown got their campaign underway with a victory, overcoming Murrayfield Wanderers by 17 points to 14. This week they look to back up that win as they go on the road to face Ross High. Here's the thoughts of Langham's coach, Craig Hislop.
Really good start to the season on Saturday, defeating Murrayfield Wanderers by 17 points to 13. The lads go out to blocks in the first half and raced a 17-3 lead at half time. Unfortunately, we sat in that lead and allowed them back into the game in the second half and tried to protect the lead rather than go chase other scores. So a bit to work on for next week, but as I say, it's really good to get a victory in that first game. We head up to Ross High this weekend, who got defeated in the last minute by Dalkeith. So that'll be a sore one to take, and they'll be looking for a win this week. So squad-wise, pretty much the same. Just waiting on a few boys to come back to confirm availability. We're expecting a tough match, as I say, and we're looking to get 2 from 2 to get this season going.
In East League 2, Hoyk Harlequins are without a competitive match as of yet, after Royal High couldn't field a squad for last weekend's season opener. The focus now turns to Pennycook away tomorrow afternoon, and Captain Liam Graham is aware of the strength of their opponents.
Yeah, obviously disappointing not to get a game last weekend against Royal High, but we now look forward to this week, onto the challenge of Pennycook away. Being an away fixture, we've got a few players unavailable due to work commitments, but we do think we feel that we've got a strong enough squad to go up there and compete against what will be a strong team in this league again this season. Team news wise, we don't have too much to report on, purely just down to the fact that our squad's not set in stone yet, but we feel that we'll have a strong enough team to go up there and hopefully get something out of the game.
Let's head into the Borders battle that is East League 3 now, with 50% of the teams from this region. And last weekend there was a Border derby landslide at Netherdale as it finished Galloway IM 25, Earlston 103. A convincing win for Earlston to start their season, but coach Cammy Hill says there is still things to work on as they head into the capital to face Edinburgh Northern on Saturday.
Overall, I'm pretty pleased with the performance we put in. Obviously scoring a lot of points was really good, and there were some really good performances, notably Craig Bruce, who scored 5 tries on the day, and Kyle Oliver, who made his competitive debut on Saturday in the second row, and I thought was absolutely outstanding. So it's really good to see him coming through and making good ground with his progress now. But always, you look back at a game and there's still room for improvement. A few things I thought were pretty sloppy on or just weren't quite switched on. So we've went away this week at training and worked really hard on them Just very small issues, but we need them rectified before Saturday. Just a quick mention to Galloway, who stuck in to the very end on Saturday and scored some really good tries. So all credit to them. Obviously, there's going to be harder tests throughout the season, and I'd imagine that will start at the weekend when we travel to face Edinburgh Northern. Obviously, playing Edinburgh Northern last season, we got a good win up there, but suffered 2 defeats at home. So we know exactly how hard this game's going to be, especially them coming off the back of loss to Hoyclandine at the weekend. They'll be looking to rectify that and get a result. If we go into our squad selection for this weekend, it will be much the same apart from losing prop Martin Linton due to work commitments and Nathaniel Armstrong, who suffered a hamstring injury at the weekend. But we welcome back Linton Brink into the second row, which is a really good boost for the forward pack. So let's hope we can come away from Edinburgh with another win on Saturday.
And as Calmy mentioned there, a word for Galloway, who managed to take a try bonus from the game, so even though they conceded 103 points, they still have more league points than all the other teams who lost in this league on Saturday, and they'll look to right their wrongs as they travel to Inverleith in round 2. Hoyclandine got their season off to the best of starts as they defeated Edinburgh Northern 45-21 on home soil. They now hit the road to face Duns in a border derby, and giving us the insight from the Lindeans' perspective is captain Tom Huggin and first Aidan Fairbairn.
Looking back to Saturday, it was a good result against Edinburgh Northern. It's great to start the league with a victory. We had a lot of good spells in the game. The Bucks ran the game quite well. A few good tries ran in. Young Liam Booglis playing exceptional. It's great to have him back for a bad injury last year. We were disappointed in the last 15-20 minutes, maybe let us down a little bit again, same as last season. They ran in a couple of tries after getting watched back 30 metres for one of them. But I think we're looking at a lot of positives to take for this.
I got into Saturday coming against Duns. We know what to expect. We played them a few times last season. We know they're a good team. Keep it strong for the forwards and ship out to the backs. But I think we're prepared to accept the challenge. It's a hard place to go. We know it'll be hard to get a result down there, but boys are really prepared and we're going to have a good week's training ahead. So we'll be fully prepared to go into Duns on Saturday.
And as the boys mentioned there, Duns will be right up for this one, especially after a 22-0 win against Edinburgh Uni Medics last weekend, and a very impressive clean sheet to boast from that. Once again, all the best to the 6 Borders teams for round 2, and that's your news for this week on the Borders teams in the East Leagues.
The East League Roundup with Euan Welsh.
Well, that's it for this edition of the Friday Rugby Preview. We're on air at 2:30 tomorrow for at least 4 hours with Kelso versus Selkirk in the Premiership, which is our featured game with Robin Purdie and David Ferguson. Then straight after that game's finished, it's up to Edinburgh for Scotland versus Fiji, the first ever women's 15-a-side international between the two countries. And Stuart McFarlane will be there for us, and plenty of local interest as well, with Lisa Thompson, Lana Skeldon and Chloe Rollie all in the starting lineup. Friday Rugby Preview will be back same time next week, but from me and Robin, a very good night.
The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.